Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me, as always, is Logan. How are you today, Logan?
Jordan, I'm feeling like Iron Man today. I am. I've got my reactor in. I've got my heart's ready to go for this one. So
Let's hope it is. Let's hope it's
if
ready.
you see me pass out in the middle of this show, please call 911 or
Yeah,
call Ashley first because I don't know how much you
yeah.
can really help
Check on
me.
your husband, please.
He just like dipped out of the frame.
His last words were, "I am Iron Man."
I am inevitable was what he was saying, and then all of a sudden he
uh,
just cut straight to I am Iron Man. So
we
how are you doing,
are.
Jordan?
I'm doing good. You know what? I meant to say this last week. Forgot. Last week was a 250th episode of the podcast.
We're so old.
Now we haven't been on each one. I skipped one or two while I was out for my newborn, and
2?
then
Yep.
I think I missed some where I was on vacation before. Like you did a Concacaf Champions Cup
Yeah,
draw or whatever before
I
last
did
year or
that,
something.
and then I did a couple previews by myself, but
Yeah, and then you came in like episode 16 of the show, and then
mhm.
you had missed a couple. So neither of us have actually hit the 250, but the show overall is at 251 as of today. And that doesn't count all of the side episodes like Charm City Soccer Cast when we did when I have updates on that, or the Ted Lasso recaps we've had, or even the old Stoppage Time Soccer Show. So we have been
Hmm.
this is insane. This is the podcast I've done the most episodes for, and we're coming up on our 4-year anniversary, which is in October of this year. Wild, absolutely wild that it's here.
Yeah.
Especially like a good chunk of those first two seasons, we were doing about 30 episodes for the preseason each year. We've finally cut those down, but that's how we kind of got that number up so high, I guess. And it's not even like we were like releasing like 5-minute preview episodes. Each
No,
one
those
was
are hours.
about an
Yeah.
hour for each team, and it was tough. It was
It
tough.
was like, I think back to that, and I'm like, "How
How
did
did we
we
do it?
do that?" Because there were nights where I think we would schedule 2 people a night sometimes.
Yeah.
We would take I remember specifically a couple of them where we took a break and then we jumped right back on an hour later. And that was like and I picture it too because I was in my apartment then and I was sitting in front of a bookshelf with
Hmm.
this chair that I'm currently in. We didn't have a desk that I sat in. And like I was facing a wall. I'm facing a wall still, but like
Not
it
much has
just
changed. Like,
not much has changed really. Less hair, like, that's
that's
really
there.
less hair, more pounds, more heart
Okay.
problems, but we're here. We've made it. And you have a
Oh boy.
child.
And I have a
That's
child. The
yeah.
child.
We should go
Um
back and listen to one of our we should do, like, a react to one of our
yeah, like
podcasts.
watching it as we're sitting here like, "Oh man, look
Yeah.
at that." The
The
one
one
the
where the
one with Mood
cat takes
Tower where
down
the
the
cat knocks it down. Yeah. Oh boy. Hey, we
Hi.
nailed it. We nailed it, Logan. We correctly predicted who was going to be in the final of the League's Cup. And I don't know if we said who was going to win. I think we said Crew.
You did.
I
I didn't
did
get
I
this
say?
right. You got this right. I didn't get this
Oh,
right. I had Philly and I had Philly and the other well, who was it?
you had Philly and Rapids?
No. Philly and LAFC. Because
Oh,
remember
okay.
I was saying it was gonna be a
Oh, yeah,
repeat.
yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry. I
I
nailed it.
regret it. You nailed it.
I got it right.
You just wanted me to say it.
Yeah, and the Crew are champions of
Great
League's
match.
Cup.
Gosh, that
Uh,
was a great match.
yeah, this was and Rapids won third place. Rapids are in CCC. They have locked it down as the Union continue to be always the bridesmaid, never the bride. When it comes to these cups and all that. And I don't understand the fan reaction to this. They were like, "Oh, well, thank God we don't have to play in CCC now. Maybe we'll, our players will be well rested and not have as many games." No, you always want to be in these games. I don't care if it runs down the squad. You want to be in these games because look at Cincy. Not look at Cincy. Sorry, look at Columbus. Leagues Cup, they win it. They won MLS Cup last year. They made it. I forget where they got knocked out in CCC, right? But they have been just in all these competitions. Guess what? They're still winning trophies. They're still winning trophies, and I think they have to be looked at as pretty high favorites for repeating MLS Cup. They're not going to win Supporter Shield, but they're going to get into MLS Cup. They're in third place in the East. They have a good shot. They have a good shot of winning it again. And it's just this juggernaut of team. And when you look at a team like Philly that's in a bigger market, but also like we were talking about a week or two ago with the most transfer spend that Philly has ever spent is $2.88 million. I think Columbus is still around that, but the thing is they're finding better players, but they're also they buy more DPs. Having players like Diego Rossi and Chucho Hernandez is so much different than what Philly has had been working with. And that's what, like, we're not trying to point at what Miami's doing if we're Philly fans and say, do that. We're looking at teams like Columbus and Cincinnati and say, do that. Mm-hmm. Those are teams in smaller markets than Philadelphia that also are not spending absurd amounts of money to bring in players that can make a difference and can win you trophies. So there you go. That's my little spiel there. But congratulations to the Columbus Crew, who will now be adding a Leagues Cup to this trophy cabinet here. Just insane what they've been able to do since Wilfred Nancy has taken over.
Yeah, and so many will discuss, as we will always say, that Wilfred Nancy has pretty much cemented his spot in the lore of MLS. He's a legend in this league already. Like, the fact that he's done it so quickly and was successful with Montreal as well, to go from one team to the next and then just continue to do what you had done and then elevate it to MLS Cup, to now Leagues Cup, to now possibly another MLS Cup, to a run in CCC. Like, it just feels, Jordan, that we've got the next generation of coaches between Steve Cherundolo is a fantastic coach as well. So I think, I mean, you look at it and we're really starting to gather a lot of the Pat Noonan. We've got so many great coaches that I think, and it says a lot in the fact that, like, these players are staying now in MLS. They're not going overseas. There's new contracts being signed. Duncan McGuire, for instance, just signed with Orlando City again. So, like, there's a lot of teams and young players that are fully focused on elevating their skill levels and their talent and the list on, the players on their roster. So yeah, this just speaks to how good Columbus Crew is, and to go through all these Mexican teams like MLS did. And I know we've had home field advantage, but you finally are starting to see, I think, MLS and American soccer eclipse Mexican soccer. Yes, it doesn't show in the TV ratings. Maybe it doesn't show in the tickets sold, but it's going to get there. And this is exactly what we needed. And we need teams like this, Jordan. We need Philadelphia, and that's why I don't get the reaction either. We need Philadelphia. We need LAFC. We need Columbus to go on these runs and these big tournaments and show people why we are serious. And a Club World Cup would be the next big thing for, I think, the United States in this league.
Man, you got to give it to Columbus, right? Like, I know they're probably going to give that last host spot for the Club World Cup to Miami.
Yeah.
But Columbus has deserved it. They've won almost every trophy you can think of.
Is Club World Cup in the U.S. this next time?
Yes, 2025, next year.
Holy crap.
And it's going to be like the full World Cup style, where it's 32
Jordan, we
teams.
might actually get an MLS team in the Club World Cup final. That'd be nuts. Like,
I don't know about in the final, but yeah, it'll
Miami,
be.
I think Miami could.
You think Miami can? It's going to have Real Madrid, Man City, like
but
Chelsea.
Like, okay, so Club World Cup would be in their off season, yes.
No, well, yeah, the summer. Yeah, it'll be in the summer. Yeah,
Champions, like, it's around Champions League final.
It'll be in June, like a World Cup.
So do those players play in Club World Cup?
That's the question. We'll see
Yeah.
how much they actually take.
Although City could run out their second team and be
Yeah,
better than.
exactly. Yeah.
That's fun to dream. Let's dream. Miami Club World Cup champions 2025. Coming from an
We'll
Orlando
see.
City fan.
We'll see.
That's
Yeah.
big.
Oh, yeah. Blasphemy. Um. Okay. So that is what we're doing there. And then we had some actual real Major League Soccer matches again. So we'll be taking a look at that here. But yeah, Leagues Cup, Columbus Crew win it. Rapids win third place on a shootout. Zach Steffen is like the first goal. I think this is a funny stat because this is the second year. He's the first Leagues Cup goalkeeper to win 3 shootouts. I'm like, yeah, because
History, baby.
it's only the second year. Like, it doesn't seem that surprising to me when I read that. And people were like, legendary. I'm like, okay.
You
Doesn't
could,
seem that surprising.
Jordan, you could say MLS has never lost a League Cup final.
Yes.
Ever in the history of League Cups.
Like I said, that's why it's called MLS League Cup.
It's amazing, though. Somebody that's not paying attention is like, oh my gosh, they've never lost to the Mexican sides? Nope, never.
Nope,
Not
never.
in this competition.
No. This is a long-standing tradition. This cup has so much history. It has more history
than the US
than a
Open.
100-year US Open Cup.
Everybody just turned the podcast off.
All right. So here's what we got going on. Tomorrow, August 27th, Kansas City and Indy 11 play in the US Open Cup. And then Wednesday, Seattle and LAFC are going to be on the US Open Cup. Those games are now on Apple TV, guys. They've moved. US Open Cup made a new deal with Apple TV. They're on Apple TV now. So, and they're free. Those 2 matches are free. And then Philadelphia and Columbus Crew will be catching up on their game that was supposed to be Saturday on Wednesday, August 28th. Philly and Columbus, 7:30. That is free on Apple TV as well. And I'm sure with how much Columbus is celebrating, maybe they won't be playing all of their big stars on that game. I mean, like I said, they're pretty much a lock for the playoffs. We got like 9 to 10 games left, right? They've got 11 games left. So maybe even rotate there. They went deep into Leagues Cup. So we'll see what they do. Philadelphia, by the way, have transferred Jose Martinez and has transferred Damian Lowe even. So the center back very thin right now for Philadelphia Union. So I'm not even sure if they could rotate if they wanted to. Okay, so here's what happened on the weekend. Seattle beat Minnesota 3-2. I think this game was a 2-0 Seattle lead early on here. And then Minnesota came back. And then Seattle, of course, won the game in the 75th minute. It was a 2-1 lead for Seattle, not 2-0, sorry. Then we had Charlotte and New York Red Bull draw 1-1. Dallas winning a 7-goal thriller in DC 4-3. Benteke had scored. He actually signed a new deal with DC, so he's going to be staying in the district. But Dallas getting a big road win. Miami beating Cincinnati. Cincinnati's kind of been struggling as of lately. Luis Suarez scores a really early brace in that game. And that's that. New England beats Montreal 5-0. NYCFC and Chicago drew 2-2. And guess what? Now that we're back in MLS, no penalty shootouts on these draws. Toronto beat Houston 1-0. SKC beat Orlando 3-0. Logan was very quiet that night.
Yeah, it was not a good night. I've come to expect it with Orlando City, though, at this point. Like, Matt's a new fan, and Matt will text me, like, what's happening? I'm like, well, it's Orlando City.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's happening.
What do you mean? It's Saturday night.
Like,
it's Orlando. That's what
It's
happened.
Orlando on the road, too. Chaos ensues. It's usually at home that's really disappointing because it's like, what was that? And then It is. It's like Orlando City is much more of like a slap in the face. Like you haven't lost in 5 matches. Here you go.
And
Let's
yeah,
just
that's the
drop a
thing.
goose
They'll
egg.
have these weird results where you're like, wow,
Yes.
they actually beat this team, and then
Yep.
like SKC, one of the worst teams in
Rolls
the
them.
West,
Yeah.
we're gonna lose.
Yep. That's been Oscar's thing, though. It really has throughout his whole career, though.
My dog.
He
Oh, perfect.
no, yeah, yeah, sure. But no, that's been his story, and everybody knows that here and where he's been previously. They just know
Yeah.
it. I don't know. It's like he can't win big games, and that's not good. Or games you're supposed to win, I guess, too.
Austin win 2-0 over Nashville. RSL lose to San Jose 2-0. LA Galaxy beat Atlanta 2-0 as Atlanta continue to struggle. And then Portland and St. Louis have a 4-4 thriller.
Yeah.
What was up with this? There's a lot of goals scored. New England 5-0, Dallas 4-3, Portland 4-4. Crazy. Okay, so let's kind of dive into the weekend action. Other than maybe Orlando's, you said that wasn't surprising to you.
No. Yeah.
What
No.
result surprised you the most on the weekend here? As we're getting back into league play, some teams have been rested, some teams have been rested longer. Like, what was your thoughts here?
I mean, I think the obvious would be RSL face planting against a San Jose team that's not good. And Jordan, if you're RSL, right, you're top 3 team in the Western Conference. You're arguably one of the best teams that's been playing this year. You would hope that this would be a game that you solidify positioning, get the points that you need. You've got all your guys playing, right? And you go and drop it against a team that arguably is one of the worst teams that we've had in the league in quite some time. So it's shocking to me that RSL can lose matches like this. And I get it, it's MLS, it happens. But if you're going to be a contender, these are not games you can lose, especially when you have all your guys. Like this is just not. This is
And
unacceptable
they've
for
been
RSL.
rested, right? Like when did they get knocked out of League's
They've
Cup?
not
A while
a
ago.
couple weeks ago. So it's that if you had a couple weeks break, like there's no excuse to drop games like this, and they did, and at home too. Nonetheless, like
Yeah, they got
you,
knocked out by LAFC. That's right,
right?
right?
You,
Didn't they?
you lose to these teams, Jordan, and we've talked about RSL, and we get really excited about, and we always have teams like this in MLS where you get so excited about the way that they're going. And then all of a sudden, it like blows up in their face, and it blows up in great proportions. Like it becomes
Yeah.
devastating, like to watch. And that's one thing I think if you're a casual fan, that's really fun but awful at the same time, is that there are catastrophic collapses in MLS because it's a playoff system. So you could go from a real big high to a real low. I mean, look where the Galaxy are right now, right? They were in the well last year, and now arguably one of the best teams in the league. So, yeah, welcome to MLS. Welcome to RSL. You've been here long enough. You should know better.
Yeah, that's here's what they missed out, okay? They've played 26 games now.
Yeah.
So they have there's 34, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they just have 8 games left.
Yep.
Now LAFC and LA Galaxy are ahead of them in the standings, but LAFC has played 2 less games than them. But here's the thing. They could have tied LAFC on points before LAFC comes back from League's Cup if they had beaten San Jose. Because they have 44 points. LAFC has 47. Now, I totally forgot where we were at the beginning of this League's Cup. But San Jose, wooden spoon, all right? It would be a miracle for them to not win wooden spoon. They have 17 points. St. Louis has 24. That's directly above them. And DC, bottom of the East, has 26.
Yeah.
So they're going to get the wooden spoon.
Right.
Unless they go on a tear here and win every single game. Because that would be 3, 4, 7 points. Yeah, they have enough room to still do that. But when you can't capitalize on the worst team in MLS perennially every year, the worst team in MLS. When you can't take advantage of playing against the worst team in MLS, while you're in a hunt to try to get in the top two, top three. I mean, they're in the top three, but I mean, like in the top two or the top one spot of the West. It sucks. And this time I didn't even visit them to get them on this. So
I know
that's
you did this. It's 4 games straight. They've not had a victory. They've drawn one of those games, and that was against LAFC, which was the better of the opponent of the bunch.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
drew against the best opponent. They've lost against Colorado before this, like way back before Leagues Cup. It is disruptive, isn't it? Leagues Cup. It makes you forget where we currently. Cincinnati's lost 4 straight. Like totally
Yeah.
forgot because of
Yeah,
Leagues
you
Cup.
like to
They
catch
feel like
up.
they're on a
Yeah.
roll, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're just looking at it like, oh, and here's the thing. Leagues Cup. I saw somebody comment this before. It's like, hey, did Leagues Cup throw it off more this year than last year for you? Like when it comes to like getting back into the league and like figuring out, okay, like did it throw off the momentum? And I wonder for the teams too. Like, how does it affect teams? How does it
Mhm.
affect the players? Because I think a team like Columbus is going to ride this high. Colorado is probably going to ride this high. They got third place. Yeah, it's not like they didn't get to a final, but they had constant shootout wins. They were beating Liga Mexi's teams. They were playing their hearts out. That this is a successful season for the Rapids, even if they don't make a dent in the playoffs, I think, because we were all looking at them coming in and saying, okay, you hired Chris Armas, you bring in Zach Steffen, you're bringing back some of the players you had sold before. Prove it now to actually show that you're a good team, right? Because they had been top of the West and they fell out of it. And then they fire their manager. Then they, hire Armas. And then they start bringing in some big players. And you're like, okay, this is not going to fix itself right away. But third place in Leagues Cup, qualifying for CCC, that's a successful season for the Rapids. I would have
Yeah.
never, like, if you had told me that at the beginning of the year, after they hired Chris Armas and bring in these players, like, hey, they're going to get third place in Leagues Cup, qualify for CCC, I'd be like, that's a good, when we fill out those questions of what's a successful season. The fact is, they're going to make the playoffs, right?
Mhm.
It would be an astronomical fallout if they didn't make the
Yeah.
playoffs. They're in fourth place. They're going to make the playoffs. They might even have home field advantage for those playoffs, and they have already qualified for CCC. It's like, okay, do whatever you can in the playoffs and have fun with it. That's a successful season for the Rapids. But I look at a team like LAFC where I'm like, they just lost another final. Will they be able to use this as momentum? Or will they be like, finally, we're back in the league play. And now we can just maybe right the wrongs here and get to the playoffs and, make sure we're slowly getting Olivier Giroud into the mix and be prepared for the playoff run. So it's interesting to see how some of these teams are maybe going to use this to you know, uh, to prepare themselves and launch themselves for the playoffs, which we're getting very close to already. They released the schedule.
Yeah, and looking at Colorado's last 9 games in leagues play, Jordan, they've got 6 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. They march through and get third place in Leagues Cup. And like you said, and we talked about this last year with Orlando City because Orlando City added a ton of players, and they said when that finally starts to gel, what does that look like? And they were a very good team last year. I think you have the same thing with Colorado this year. Is they added all these players back in, Zach Steffens, Sam Vines, Cole Bassett. Like you've got guys that are proven in this league, were proven in this league. Some of the best players, Jordan. People forget that those were 3 of the best players in MLS at their times. And I mean, you add in players like that, and this team becomes very difficult to beat. And I mean, Colorado's looked really good. And honestly, you just need home field advantage in that first round where you can, because things can get shaken up pretty well. And I think you can look at these games and kind of look at where Colorado's headed and what does that look like. They've got Dallas, they got Portland, SKC, Toronto, Minnesota. Those are all pretty winnable games for them in the next 5. So this could be This could be exactly, and like you said, is it a disruption? I think yes, for some teams it will be. I think Leagues Cup is a disruption from the momentum they might have had in the league. Do I think that it continues a trend of where yes, like I think all the cases are true. But I think if you look at a team like Colorado, and you got to look at more of like the teams on the outskirts right now, those are the teams that I think are most dangerous if they have a good run in a good competition like Colorado. And I think that's where you see their success, or maybe the Sounders as well, because the Sounders have played really well before the league. The disruption didn't really cause them any issues. They played pretty well in this tournament as well. They've got confidence too. So
Yeah,
there's
they
two
come
teams
out
you
and
don't
win,
want. Yeah.
right? They come out and win, and
Right.
that's great for Seattle. Um, fifth place, they're 1 point back behind Colorado, and 4 points back at RSL. Remember, this Seattle team was near the bottom of the West. They've just been rising the ranks, right? Like if we look at the form guide, right? The W's are all at the end. Okay. They had some W's scattered around in the first few weeks and midway point of the season, but it really starts to turn around on June 16th when they beat Minnesota 2-0. They beat Minnesota again today. Then they draw with Houston. They beat Dallas, beat Chicago, beat New England, beat Austin, beat St. Louis, lose to LAFC on 7/21 before League's Cup starts, and then win against Minnesota again. And now you're looking at the strength of schedule and you're like, okay, when they rattled off these wins, they weren't playing anybody really good. But earlier in the season, they were losing to teams like San Jose. They were losing to teams like DC United. So you can't even just say they're playing bad teams. They've turned it around, Seattle. And the fact is that they're in fifth place, 1 point behind Colorado, who's gotten a lot of good press this season. I think just goes to show how consistent they've been with Smetzer and how everything's coming up Seattle right now. So that is huge for the Sounders. Really big, especially to be able to get that win against Minnesota away from home. Great. Minnesota, by the way, now talk about a team that's struggling, right? We had talked about them before, but on June 16th, we look at that same game against Seattle. That started a downtrend for Minnesota. When then they lose to Dallas, lose to Austin, lose to Portland, lose to Vancouver, lose to Galaxy, draw with Houston, lose to DC. Then they win against San Jose and then lose against Seattle. So just like a tale of two different teams here, Minnesota and Seattle, and Seattle's come out on top against them both times recently. So just pretty interesting how it's going. And then they played each other in Leagues Cup too, right? What was that result? I think that was a Seattle win.
I don't know.
I have to go look. I think it was at the beginning of the group stage. Seattle won that game 2-0. Is that Minnesota's number right now?
Yeah. But I mean, you look at it, like Jordan, there's some really hot teams right now, and teams you don't want to play. Miami, LA Galaxy. You've got Colorado, you've got the Crew, you've got the Sounders, you've got the Timbers. Like, those are not teams that I necessarily really want to touch. Like, get away from
Yeah.
me.
You know who
The
I'd want to
Timbers
play
are
right
climbing.
now?
It's like, that's nuts.
If I'm going in the playoffs, the team I want to play right now, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
If the
They've
playoffs
not been
started
good.
today,
Yeah.
I
Or Red
would
Bull.
say-
Red Bull have not been good either. So,
but they've been draws at least.
yeah. At least they're
4
not
straight
dropping
losses
3
for
straight,
Cincy.
yeah. Against,
And then they lost that game against the Union too, on in Leagues Cup. You know, that was a pretty rough game for Cincinnati.
especially because to start this, it felt like they were rattling off and they were ready to go after Supporter Shield. So
they had a huge stretch from the 13th of April to May 25th where they had won 7 in a row. 7 in a row. Then they had one loss against Nashville, and then they rattled off 2 more wins.
Right.
But this is kind of what they were doing earlier in the season. They didn't have their first loss until April 6th, by the way, when they lost to Red Bulls. They would have like a loss or two, and then it would rattle off a bunch of wins. Then it would have a loss, and then rattle off a couple wins. Then it'd have a loss, and rattle off a couple wins until this stretch when they started having the 4 losses in a row, which has been since July 6th. So really, it's been the last 2 weeks. Sorry, I guess I am partly to blame here. This is right after my son was born. So he is anti-Cincinnati, I guess.
Yeah, right.
And that has been a curse now. It's like since he's been
Yeah.
born, they've been on a huge downturn.
Yeah, they also lost 2 of their best defenders, so that does not help in
Yeah.
MLS. When you got Hoagland and Matt Miazga out,
Yeah.
that's
That's the big thing. Losing their defenders.
and not having a goal scorer. Like,
yeah,
you
having to
gotta
rely
have
on Acosta.
right. You gotta have a striker, and I think that's something they're missing. And Jordan, I'm telling you, I'm looking at the top of the form guide here, and I'm looking at the top, 8 teams. You're right. They're the team I'd be like, yeah, sign me up. I'll play them. I want to play them.
Yep. Yeah, let's rattle off those top 8. Miami,
Yeah.
Galaxy, Cincy, LA, RSL, Columbus, Red Bull, Colorado. The weak link right now is Cincinnati.
Right. With Red Bull not too far behind. But like you said.
And maybe RSL.
Yeah. But
if you're going off the form.
Right, I guess, yeah. Yeah. I just, I feel like RSL can score goals. I feel like Red Bull,
that's the thing.
Red Bull can
RSL
defend typically.
RSL scored 51 goals.
Right.
To Cincinnati's 44. So if you're looking at the top 4 in the East, 44 goals is third. Miami has 58, Columbus has 47, Cincy has 44, and Red Bulls have 43. The team I absolutely do not want to play is the Columbus Crew. They've only given up 22 goals all season.
Yeah.
That gets lost.
Historic.
I think.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. Fun one. Are these the 4 out of the 4 teams I'm getting ready to give you? Is one of them MLS Cup winner and Supporter Shield winner? I've got Miami, LA, Galaxy, LAFC, and Columbus Crew.
If I had to pick right now, you're going to get Miami as Supporter Shield. They're not going to win MLS Cup though.
Yeah. Huh?
I don't have them as MLS Cup winners. I really cannot bet against a team like, I'll say, Crew or Galaxy are winning MLS Cup.
Crew has the advantage. Basically, they've run back the same team and the same really scary team with a better defense and some more attacking options. I think you're right.
And the coaching.
Yeah. And Miami, I think, has gotten too far away. So I think that. But Jordan, we've had some really exciting debuts at both LA's teams. Like,
let's talk about it.
Could that possibly push these two over the edge? Because these are 2 game changers, because they made a huge difference in the 2 games they played over the weekend.
Yeah, Marco Royce comes in, and I didn't get to see his debut, but I heard that it was like he was the man.
Yes.
Right?
It was methodical, a lot of moments of open space that he created, and just he looks so bored. I know that sounds awful, but like, it's so good when people look bored. He looks very messy-like and very methodical in the way that he operates. He just kind
Messy,
of just
MESSI or MESSY?
MESSI.
Okay.
Yeah. But when a good midfielder makes it look easy, it can look bored. Like he's bored. Like he's like, oh, okay, like I'll just slice you and dice you, and you'll be done. And Jordan, his goal was just so calm. It had that European touch to it, where it reflects off the goalkeeper, and he just slots it right back in with just no hesitation whatsoever. So that's it. They might have the 2 best midfielders in the whole league, besides the guy named Lionel.
Yeah, so he said after the game here, I was really, really excited before the game. I was really excited to come in and get a couple of minutes from the coach with the team. I was really, really happy that we found a way to win the game. So he also assisted Ricky Puig's 76-minute goal. And then, of course, scoring his goal in the 84th minute. So Marco Royce coming in and already contributing. I'll say this. Olivier Giroud also scored his first goal in Leagues Cup. So that also happened. And it was the goal that equalized the match at 1-1 in the 57th minute. What I'll say to this, though, and I love Olivier Giroud. Don't get me wrong. I do. One of my favorite players. I think Marco Reus is going to have much bigger impact this season for the Galaxy than Giroud will have for LAFC. So this is the perfect time that Reus is coming in. It's at this stretch where they're going to try to make a run in the playoffs. This could be MLS Cup changing odds for the Galaxy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I didn't even think of that. But I think you're right, because I think LA Galaxy at times had been missing kind of that talisman, that goal creator, in a way that Marco Reus can provide that, Jordan, to like a Joseph Paintsil or a Ricky Puig, like Joveljic. Like those are some really dangerous people. Diego Fagundes, Peck, like they are. I mean, those are incredible goal scorers. You got like Delgado. Like it it does feel like that they've got the team now, where they could really make some noise with Royce, because he provides something they've been missing for so long. And you and I have talked about this. What happens to the LA Galaxy that made the splash? The neighbors
Yes.
down the
Yeah.
street have made the splash, and they did it again with Olivier Giroud. Olivier Giroud is a great player. I too love Olivier, but I think they have that, right? They know what that is. They know what that looks like, a goal scorer. They've got one of them.
And
It
it's
just
also like he needs the service. Olivier
Yes,
needs
he
service
does.
to
Yeah.
score the goals. So like at least Royce can create something for the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's just going to be such a bigger deal, and maybe a bigger success for Marco Reus.
Yep. I totally agree. That's a really good point. I'm so excited about what these playoffs could look like, Jordan, because if it went the way that it went in the last couple of years, where you had the really no underdogs. I know we all like to root for the underdogs, but imagine this: a semifinal of Columbus and Miami and
And
LA
El
and LA.
Trafico.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, salivating at it right now. That'd be good. The only thing I wouldn't want though is crew LAFC in another final.
Okay, then we can switch it up. Galaxy and Miami. That'd be a
Galaxy
fun
and
one, man.
Miami.
Could you
That would be
imagine
fun.
the
The
star
Beckham
power?
Cup.
Oh my
The David
gosh.
Beckham Cup. Call it that.
Dude, now I'm salivating. Like, could you imagine that needs to be in LA? Like, we need to somehow get that game to LA, but it'll be in Miami.
Oh yeah, it would
But I
be in
guess
Miami.
the stars will travel to Miami. Like, I'm
Yeah,
talking like Jordan, it's gonna look like the
LeBron.
Lakers game. Like, it's gonna look like the Lakers game with all the celebs in the
Yeah,
suites with
like
David
Messi's first
Beckham.
Leagues Cup game. Remember
Oh,
they had like everybody there.
oh man, we need it. And Men in Blazers will probably be there talking about it. You know they will, which I always love when Raj is on there. So, but yeah, we need that. We need this to happen. So MLS, if you're into fixing matches, no, I'm kidding.
Speaking of Miami, by the way, they were the first team to clinch a playoff spot, so they are clinched in the playoffs already. I don't know if that's going to determine how they end up, making sure their aging stars are rested now. They're in.
Yeah,
They're in the playoffs. They
right.
could rest some of these and be like, you know what, supporter shield, smorter shield. Like we don't
Yeah,
need it right now. We're just gonna push for that MLS Cup. Because LA Galaxy still not super far behind in the standings. For supporter shield, it's a 4-point difference. Now, of course, LA Galaxy have actually played one more game than Miami. But yeah, so Miami clinched. They're the only team right now that's clinched. And they are clinched when they have 8 games to go. So big deal for them as they can try to get Messi healthy. They can rest Suarez if they needed to. Right? Like
Busquets. Yep.
how would you approach this if you were Miami? Like, are you pushing for the shield, or are you like, hey, we're gonna get the shield if we get it, but we're also gonna make sure we're set up for the playoffs?
I mean, they're set up pretty well right now where they really don't even have to stomp on the pedal to get the shield either. Like the way they've been playing without Lionel Messi, with giving Busquets time off, with Suarez out at and all these guys out at Euros and Suarez. I mean, Jordan, I read a great article today that was like basically all the things that could happen with Miami did not happen, and the one unexpected did kind of happen with Messi getting hurt. But they've it's like they've not even missed a beat. So I would say, Jordan, I would play this very carefully because I think end goal obviously is MLS Cup, because again, like you and I have talked about last show, that MLS Cup is going to be the one you talk about. Nobody's talking about their supporter shields. So MLS Cup is what they're looking for. If they get there by resting some of their players, I think Tata is very happy with that. But end goal, they want to get to CONCACAF Champions Cup in the best way possible. And I think the best way possible is not try to bust up the rest of the league for Supporter Shield and try to win MLS Cup and then try to come back and win I think it's more of, can we get there, get everybody healthy, get to MLS Cup, get everybody healthy there too, and then we'll make our move next year when we host the Club World Cup so that they can try to win that.
Yeah, interesting. Man, lots of storylines going on right now, and it's great. Let me go ahead and read. I'm going to go ahead and read the standings. We haven't done this in a while, about a month. Has it? Can you believe it's been a month since Leagues Cup started and we had the break and all that?
It does feel that long though, because like it feels like a long time since we've talked about league action.
Yeah, it does. And then there's times where it's like, so sometimes to me it feels like yesterday, and then sometimes it's like, oh no, we haven't talked league in a while here. Okay, Miami. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to start with the East because that's how the sun rises, and then we'll set in the West. Okay, so we're going to go top 4: Miami, Cincinnati, Columbus, New York, Red Bulls. Miami has 56 points. Cincy has 48. Crew has 43. New York has 42. The Crew has 3 games in hand, and if they rattle off 9 points out of those 3, they will have 52 points, which is just 4 shy of Miami. They can make it a bit of a race for the Supporter Shield if they want to. All right, 5 through 9 here. This is the let's do 5 through 7. This is the end of the normal playoffs. NYCFC, Charlotte, and Orlando. NYCFC with 39 points, Charlotte with 38, Orlando with 34. Then the wild card spots: Toronto with 33 points, Atlanta with 28. So we're kind of seeing 8th place is kind of the last of like the good amount of points, and now we're starting to get into like, oh, because guess what? From 10 to 15, 1 point separates them. Philly, Montreal, New England, Chicago, Nashville, and DC United. Philly in 10th place with 27 points. Montreal in 11th with 27 points. And then those bottom 4 teams all have 26. Crazy in the East. You don't see anything quite like that over in the West, mostly because of San Jose. So really any of the teams from 15 to 9 can finish in that 9 spot as we hit the end of the season here. I feel like we're kind of cutting off. If I could change this, the wild card would stop at 8, because you'd have Toronto with 33, Orlando with 34, and then the rest of those teams have a lot more: 38, 39, 42. Like that's how it should be. There should probably only be 8 teams making the playoffs. 7 really should have been what it is. Should have stuck with 7. Over in the West, Galaxy, LAFC, RSL, Colorado. Galaxy with 52, LAFC with 47, RSL with 44, Colorado with 41. LAFC has 3 games in hand to LA, and they're only 5 points behind. And RSL, Colorado have 26 games played. 5th through 7th, Seattle with 40, Vancouver with 38, Portland with 37. Then in the wildcard spots, Houston with 37, Austin with 34, Then 10 through 14 here: Dallas, Minnesota, SKC, St. Louis, San Jose. With Dallas and Minnesota having 33 points each, they're fighting for a wild card spot. And then right below them, SKC with 27 points, St. Louis with 24, San Jose with 17. So here the cutoff point's more like 11 for trying to get into the playoffs, I think, unless SKC can, start rattling off some wins here. And maybe if they face Orlando more. Okay. Anything else about the standings and how we're looking there?
I'm so tired of the 9th playoff spot, but
Yeah,
continue.
same.
It bugs me. Like, if you're gonna do at least just do 8. Like, just get rid of the 9th. We don't need
But then
it.
you have to have somebody on a bye or something, right?
No,
Because
no, 7
you
would
would
be a
have
bye.
8. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
give it good. Do the NBA format. 1 and 8. It's typically if you can't beat a number 8 seed as the number 1 seed, you don't deserve to be the 1 seed. It's like, we don't need bye weeks. We just don't. I don't like it. I don't.
Well, we're keeping the best of 3, of course, so that is going to be its own wild thing as well. Because that again is lasting a while. I think it lasts until November.
Too
10th.
long. Yes.
For the best of 3, and they really got to tighten that up because
Right.
it loses. It's kind of like having the League's Cup in the middle of the season. It kind of loses some steam.
And you get around the holidays where people aren't watching. Like,
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense. And it's cold in most of these where they're going to go play these games, Jordan. It's going to be cold. Yeah. Miami is the only place it's not going to be cold.
All right. So schedule coming up here. Like I said earlier, Philly Columbus is your only MLS game that's taking place midweek. That's Wednesday. That's making up for Saturday. There is 2 Open Cup games going on: SKC versus Indy 11 and Seattle LAFC. Let's turn the page to Saturday, August 31st. Charlotte and Atlanta at 7:30. Cincy Montreal. Crew NYCFC. Red Bulls versus Philadelphia. Orlando versus Nashville. Toronto versus DC United. That game is free, by the way, because of course it is. And those are all at 7:30. At 8:30, we have Austin and Vancouver, Chicago and Miami, Dallas and Colorado. Then at 9:30, RSL New England. 10:30, LAFC in Houston, Portland, Seattle as a Cascadia matchup. That should be fun. San Jose, Minnesota. And then Sunday, September 1st at 2:45 p.m., free on Apple TV and also on Big Fox, St. Louis hosting LA Galaxy. All right, Logan, I ask of you, what match tickles your fancy on Saturday?
What's it tickling that for? Oh man, this is hard because there's only one game that I saw that I was like, all right, and I think it's the game you'll probably pick too.
Is it Portland, Seattle?
Yeah.
You can pick it. That's fine.
Okay. I'm gonna go Portland and Seattle, Jordan. Portland is really starting to play pretty well.
And so is Seattle.
And so is Seattle. So we're finally back to the Cascadia Cup. The 2 teams that are the staple for that region. Sorry, Vancouver. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited that these 2 teams, again, our league is better when these 2 are good, and it makes for an interesting playoff line, to not just have LA's there, with the Rapids and RSL. Like that's going to be a rivalry. This is a rivalry. Like, it's setting up, Jordan, where the playoffs are going to be rivalries, which is really cool. I hope we kind of get that seeding that works out where they have to play each other, because I think we're setting up for a really exciting Western Conference.
We didn't even talk about it, but yeah, Seattle, Vancouver, and Portland are the 5 through 6 spot for the whole Cascadia region. They're all 3 good.
It's all 7.
This would be the first time. I think this would be the first time all 3 were in or something.
Yeah.
Or close to it.
It would be. Yes, it would be.
Wouldn't it? Yeah,
yes,
I think so.
Because we did the discussion where it's always been the 2 and never the 3rd.
Yeah. So that would be a lot of fun, especially because, like you said, one of them would be facing off against each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least eventually. Like, we're setting up where the playoffs are going to become some kind of rivalry, because, like, seriously, like you said, LA's are 1 and 2. RSL and Colorado are the Rocky Mountain Cup 1 or 3 and 4. Then you got the 3 Cascadian teams, and then you got the 2 Texas teams.
Yep. And Dallas could sneak in there instead.
Right,
so you'd still have a Texas team. You'd still have a Texas team.
And then the Midwest teams suck. So Besides San Jose, they're not Midwest, but the other Midwest teams suck. So
Yeah, this might be a
this
Saturday
is
night,
fun.
lay in bed, watch this game.
Yeah.
This one looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And it's Labor Day weekend too, so people are off on Monday. I am off on Monday.
I'm off on Monday.
All right, yeah. So we'll probably be recording on Monday.
We will. We'll be talking about Labor Day and all the exciting history that. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. Let's see. If I had to pick a match that was not that one, damn, you're right, huh?
There's one other one that I like, but
if I don't pick it, let me know what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the tough. I don't want to pick another 10:30 match because I'm like the 10:30 match I'm gonna watch.
Somebody something to watch. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna pick a 7:30 game since there's so many of them, and it may not be the best matchup, but I'm going to say.
I know which one you're picking.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, now I'm like, do you?
I think I do.
Let's go Charlotte, Atlanta.
No way. Nope. Didn't have that on the bingo card. Nope. I thought you were going, when you said that, I thought you were going DC and Toronto for some
I almost did. Okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
That's funny.
But I would have picked Columbus and NYCFC.
I almost picked that, but here's the thing. Charlotte, I want to give them some love. They've been a lot better than expected this season. They're in 6th place. And they're going to be going up against Atlanta, who is in 9th place. And this is a little bit of a rivalry that they're trying to push, right? The South rivalry. So I do want to see,
baby.
Yeah, see how that goes. They're 10 points up. Charlotte's 10 points up on Atlanta. So that is, see how that goes. But yeah, go ahead and watch that. Atlanta's really been struggling lately. Right? They are at the form guide has them at 1 win.
Yeah, they've been awful.
June 29th. It was against Columbus.
Yeah, they're a whole different mess.
They've had some really bad results. 4 wins, Logan, that Atlanta has had since May 29th. That's it.
This is crazy. I can't remember. Is Gonzalo Pineda still there? Why do I feel like he is?
Right? They have only 7 wins the whole season.
Oh, they did part ways in June. Okay.
Yes, they did.
I feel like I felt like he was still there for some reason.
It's a little bit of a fever dream sometimes, the MLS season. But a lot of their points are coming from draws or something. They only have 7 wins.
Yeah, no, they're not good. I mean, this is what happens when you sell your good players.
7 draws. Where are they getting their points?
They're not. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's the problem. We'll see if they can hang on to that playoff spot that they currently have.
They're going to have 1 stripe. They're no longer going to be called the 5 stripes. They're going to be called the 1 stripes because they,
for their 1 win.
Right.
NYCFC and Columbus is a good matchup, but I feel like Columbus has just had the spotlight so much this season with Leagues Cup and that win and winning MLS Cup last year. I didn't want to keep giving them more
all
stuff.
the love.
So,
yeah.
Sunday, you only have 1 game to choose from. So we say watch that one.
Yeah.
St. Louis and LA Galaxy. Marco Royce going up against the team that he was originally rumored?
They had the discovery rights of for some reason, right? Didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I never heard of Marco Royce until St. Louis.
Yeah, until they
told me about him. Yeah.
Coming onto the scene at like age 34, 5, 6, something like that. How old is Marco Royce? Marco Royce.
He's 32, I want to say.
32? No way.
Is he?
He's 33.
Okay,
nope,
I was
34. Sorry, I can't math.
Okay, I was close. 2 years.
34, 35.
He's older than me, though.
He's 35. Okay. I don't know. He's 89 in May. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
He's 89?
No. It's a retirement league, baby. He's 35. Sorry. I got that wrong. Okay. I can't math. I'm not a math. Dude, we both are writers. We don't do this.
Yes.
Numbers thing. It hurts.
Okay, here we go. I want to hit this before we go. These are the playoff dates. They've told us the important dates. Decision day, October 19th. That's a Saturday. Oh, that's my high school reunion.
So happy reunion day.
I'll be at my high school reunion, actually.
Are you actually going?
Yeah, 15-year reunion. I
Dude,
missed the 10
I can't
because of
believe
your
they're all still
wedding.
alive, right? The
I'm gone.
dinosaurs and stuff. That's kind of cool.
Oh, why? Because I'm
Were the
old.
Flintstones there?
I'm
Yeah.
only a couple years older than you, asshole. Wild card matches are Wednesday, October 23rd, my mom's birthday. Look at
Happy
I'm
birthday,
having stuff
Stephanie.
relate having stuff relate to each one of these. Okay. Saturday, October 26th through November 10th is the best of 3. And then we have the break for the international duty that the conference semifinals don't happen until November 23rd and November 24th. Conference finals November 30th and December 1st, and then the final December 7th, which I feel like is always the final. December 7th.
Isn't that Pearl Harbor too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love celebrating Pearl Harbor with the little MLS Cup final.
Is that where you're going?
No, I'm going to Pearl
Oh.
Harbor. No. Gosh. Oh
Need a
man, we're
Hawaii
on like
team. Let's expand.
we're gonna have 40 teams soon, Jordan. Don't say that. We're gonna have like 55 playoff spots.
Oh
It's gonna be like
man.
March Madness. There's gonna be 60 some odd teams.
Hey, that sounds cool. We wouldn't need the best of 3 anymore.
It'd be 2-year seasons. Like part 1 and part 2. It's like rotational. Oh man.
Yeah.
We promise we've got, well, Jordan's probably lacking a lot of sleep, but
Yeah. It's been rough. Okay. That's that. At Stateside Show on all of our social media. Yeah. Hope everyone has a great rest of their week. We'll catch you next time on Labor Day when we decide to break down the weekend action in MLS as we start counting down to the playoffs. And counting down to the best of 3 that's going to last 5 months, and then we'll preview all of that good stuff. So have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time on Stateside Soccer Show.
barbecue sauce.